This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Okay, so what we're going to do is transfer the entire reel, including the alignment tones. So I'm going to hit go on the workstation, which is here, this button there, and then play on the machine. Here we go.
Late last year, I acquired a very special piece of Beatles history, a genuine, high-speed EMI copy of the Sgt. Pepper master tape. These reels, one each for sides 1 and 2, were duplicated on BASF tape stock from the first generation master at Abbey Road in October 1981, specially for the production of an Australian audiophile pressing of the album, of which just 497 copies were pressed. Unlike most duplicate tapes made for overseas production, these were copied at twice the regular 15 inches per second speed, at 30 inches per second. And with tape, the rule is the faster the speed, the better the sound quality. In theory, this tape should have a more faithful, high-frequency response than a tape copied at 15 inches per second. You may have seen me unboxing these tapes in a video on the channel a few months ago, and a link to that video is in the description. But that wasn't the end of the story. These are well-travelled tapes, and over the past 43 years, they've been to Australia, then back to the UK in 2022, after which they went to the US, and now they're back in Europe. That's a rough life for this delicate media, and who knows what, if anything, is still on them. There was only one way to find out, and that was to play them. Unfortunately, my Revox B77 tape recorder can only go up to 15 inches per second. And the pancake reels these tapes were stored on were too big and too delicate to be played on such a machine. So I needed to find somewhere which A, had the proper equipment to play them on, and B, someone with the skills and experience of handling tapes such as these. There was only one place in my mind that I could think of to do the job properly, and that was the place these tapes originally came from, Abbey Road Studios. So I got in touch with who I consider to be the best man for the job, who, if you've been watching this channel recently, you'll be familiar with, and that was Miles Shoal. Miles is one of the best and most experienced mastering and cutting engineers in the business. His half-speed vinyl cuttings are legendary, and having worked with tape for over 40 years, definitely had all the skills and knowledge needed to get the best out of these tapes. And to my amazement and delight, he agreed to do it. And better still, I could come along to watch. So a few weeks ago, I took the tapes back home and handed them over to Miles in his mastering room at Abbey Road.
Gosh, look at these. Wow. Client, EMI Australia. Looking forward to hearing this very shortly. So side A, 19 minutes 44, side B, 19:28. We can listen to them on this machine just to my left here. This is an Ampex ATR 102, built in the early 80s by the Ampex company of California. It's a wonderful sounding machine. It used to be owned by Olympic Studios, which is in Barnes. Olympic got acquired by Virgin. Later on, Virgin got acquired by EMI, and eventually this machine made its way here. It's my favourite sounding machine. They just sound so lovely. You might see it's a little bit bashed up, but you know, it's 40 years old, and studio tape machines tend to have a bit of a hard life. But under the hood, everything's in wonderful condition. It sounds great. First we're going to have to do is that these are on hubs, not spools. You can get pancake adapters for these machines. I don't have one here, so we'll go to another room and transfer them to a good old-fashioned metal spool.
It was then off to one of Abbey Road's many tiny rooms, containing some mighty machines.
That should be all right, I reckon. Now, this has plates, so we didn't actually need to find a plate. Okay, so
yeah, that one's come unstuck, I think.
yes, a little bit of a worry. We're not going to wind it quickly. Where the tape has come away here a little bit, exposing those areas, there's a small possibility that might actually just explode and send tape everywhere. In which case we have a very big problem. So we'll try and avoid that happening by spooling it really delicately and slowly. And when you get it back, it will be nice and tightly packed.
Okay.
So, ooh, that's a good squeak, isn't it? Crikey. So, I'll tell you what, we might switch to another machine.
Is that the machine squeaking?
I think that might be. Maybe this doesn't get used because this is a 7.5 machine.
Oh, I see.
For the sake of winding, it doesn't matter. It's just,
So that feels better.
right, okay.
Okay, take two.
Take two.
Again.
Right, let's spool it off.
That's my practice shot.
Yeah,
Actually, this is better. It's got better light on this one.
there you go. Right, so. So we have to adapt this machine very slightly. And we'll take this off. This hub adapter goes in there. Then your reel will go on top of that. Come on. It just locates over those little pins there, and then that locks it down. We'll put the larger take-up spool on here. Okay, now just thread it through. Used to do this all day, every day in the 1980s. So, I'm a little concerned about the tape here where it's come away slightly, haven't got a clean wind on the pack. If I rewind this very quickly to this take-up spool, there's just a small chance it could actually explode and the tape flies off. And we really don't want that to happen, so we're going to wind it super slowly. It's not very high tech. There's the edit function for this machine, and you can just move the thing, push on that and move it slowly like this. However, like that, the tape's actually engaged with the heads. So we're going to do a very high tech thing. You can, I think what you have to do is take that round there and basically stop it from, let's try that. Will that do it? Yeah, it will. There you go. So that, low tech, and it's winding slowly. This will be a long video.
Oh.
That's about as fast as I want to go. And rather than me hold this button down the whole time, I'm just going to put a weight on it. So this is kind of the safest way of winding these back without risking it exploding and sending tape everywhere. You can still wind it back on, but it basically gets very twisted and knotted, and it takes forever to untangle everything and get it on the spool. So,
Okay.
elastic bands and weights. Welcome to the high-tech world of Abbey Road. Okay, that is as fast as I dare go.
Okay. Is that dust or mould or something on there?
It's probably a little bit of mould.
Yeah.
it's not sticking as it's coming off, which is good. That would mean we need to bake it. You don't generally have to bake BASF tape. It's rare.
This is something I'm going to ask Matthew about later, the difference between doing EMI tape and other tapes.
Well, EMI tape, I've never had a roll of EMI tape I couldn't play. It's very stable. It's the odd one it wouldn't play would be one that's got water damaged, and in which case that's any tape that's got flooded is going to be problematic. But EMI tape is very stable.
While the side 1 reel was winding on, we took a look at the side 2 reel.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I see.
It's playable, but we have to be very careful with that one.
Because of these
These
ridges.
Yeah, you really want a nice clean pack, like you have here, is good.
Yeah.
These ridges shouldn't be a problem once we've wound it off, but we'll need to wind it carefully. Don't want it to come apart. Right, now we're getting to the dangerous part, so we're going to slow this right down till we get through this little ridge here. Here we go. Whoa. I think we're safe, really. I can't imagine anything's going to go wrong. But let's not fall at the final hurdle, because we're so close now.
Concentrate,
Yeah. Okay. Nearly done. We can speed up again once we're through this bit here. Just coming up. There you go. It's through. Right. Speed up again. One down. Tom, can you just look at this winding off? It's not at all sticky, is it?
No.
Yeah, it's good.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's totally fine.
Yeah. BASF normally is good.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
What year was it?
80.
81?
Oh, interesting.
81.
81. Yeah.
Seems to be the only formula that holds up, really.
And Agfa.
Is it?
Agfa's pretty good.
Yeah.
Also cold.
That's quite a few.
From a high-tech method.
I love it. You told me that, and it saved me quite a few times.
Well, it just otherwise, in edit mode, which is how you do the winding, the heads are engaged, and you're wearing the tape out, you're running that pass ahead, and you're wearing the head out.
Yeah.
So, right. So we have side A on a reel that we can now play.
Okay.
So we'll transfer back to my room and have a listen.
If you're a creator or an entrepreneur looking to make a big impression online, this video sponsor Squarespace can help. Squarespace is the world's #1 online website building platform, and with the aid of their newly guided design system called Squarespace Blueprint, they will help you build a unique online presence from the ground up. Their professionally curated layouts and styling options can be specifically tailored to your brand or business and are optimized for every device. What's more, their integrated SEO tools will help you show up more often in search and to more people, so you can grow the way you want. Then measure your success with Squarespace's fully integrated and powerful analytics tools, where you'll get all the data you need on traffic sources, reach, sales metrics, and learn where to focus new engagement. So whether you want to sell products, skills, or expertise, Squarespace has got you covered. Find out more by heading to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Parlogram to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Side A. This is the spool that will be collecting the tape. You might be wondering why we had to rewind the tape before we play it. That's because in the music world, we always leave the tape's tails out. That's the end of the tape coming out the end of the reel. The reason for that is to avoid print through, where the information on one layer of the tape goes through the backing and actually affects the magnetic layer next to it. If you leave the tape tails out, so the end is sticking out at the end of the reel, then it prints through backwards, so it's better. If you have it head out, like in a radio station, they always used to have tapes ready to play because it's quicker. The print through goes forward, and it's more noticeable. So we've tensioned the machine. I will Now align it so that it's behaving in the same way as the recording machine back in 1981. There'll be a series of tones on this tape. It'll be my job to set this machine up to behave in the same way as the recording machine back in 1981. Let me just put that there. There you go. Yeah, we have tone. So, set that to 0, and that one. Come on. I'm gonna get there. There we go. Okay. That's a very high tone now, 15 kilohertz. We do that to adjust the head azimuth, which is the alignment of the head. Should be at right angles to the tape, but often slightly off, so you just record a high-pitched tone. And that allows you to get the phase response exactly right. Let's go back again, just play a bit more of that. So level's pretty good. Let's just, there we go. Beautiful, okay. It's fiddly as part of the job, this, but if you do it, it'll sound great. Okay. Probably been stored in a dusty place somewhere or something.
Oh yeah, dusty storerooms and other stuff,
Yeah. So the good news is this is on BASF tape, which doesn't generally suffer from the problems of sticky shed syndrome, where the tape just goes sticky and is difficult to play. Bad news is it's a little bit dusty, so we are getting a little bit of debris come off the tape, which one concerned may clog the heads. So I'm actually going to transfer this track by track and clean the machine down between every song. And then once it's in the workstation here, I'll edit it all together and make a new rendered file of the whole thing. So, machine is clean. We're ready to go for track 1.
Now, as much as I'd love to share the music from the tape with you, copyright prevents it, and that would result in the video being blocked, so you wouldn't be able to see anything. Also, please don't write asking me for a copy or suggest where I can share it, because I'm afraid I can't do that either.
Yeah, dust coming up here.
but not oxide or anything.
No, it's white stuff really. It's all pretty good.
Just dust from storage and
Yeah.
the years.
Mould. I'm probably being a bit overcautious by cleaning it after every song, but we don't want to run the tape again.
No.
So let's just err on the side of caution here. Okay, let's leave it a few seconds to dry. Right, next song. Blank.
With side 1 successfully transferred, we now turned our attention to respooling side 2.
Right. Oh yeah. Kid gloves time.
The winding on this reel had been done particularly poorly, which could spell disaster. But before we got to that, we had a problem of a more sticky nature to deal with.
Man, sellotape. Wow.
Sellotape.
Someone's put sellotape on this. It won't be anybody from a studio. Okay. Let me just peel that back. Oh, there we go, we're winning. Come on. Yeah! Yeah. That bit will be sticky. Okay, so we run through here. Hello, Tom.
Hello. Sorry, I must have just missed you.
Yes, okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to wind this off here.
Cool.
Right, okay.
Give you back your weight.
Oh, thanks, yeah. No, let's start slow, real slow. And we'll gradually ramp it up. Especially the first bit, it's going to be a bit sticky where that sellotape was. See, it's kind of catching as it's coming off. That won't be a problem when we're playing it, but we'll just, I don't want it to snag. So we'll just slowly wind past that bit. Somebody might say, well, why don't you clean it? So, well, then you end up getting alcohol all over the tape. It's not a good idea. So. That'll do like that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't like the look of that at all. Where it goes down is okay, but when it comes up again, that's where you want to worry. So we're approaching the danger zone. We're about 1/4 of an inch away from here where it drops. Then we're safe for a little while till we get to that big bump back up again. So I'll slow it down both times when we get there.
Cue tension music.
Dun 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 dun. Okay, I'm going to switch to hand control now. We're actually rewinding this slower than 30 IPs. So we're going slower than playing it back. Whoa, let's go right down here. Don't like it. I don't like it. And breathe. Got one more of those coming up. Well, actually 2 more. Yeah, that's really dropped there. You can hear it rubbing against the plate underneath. Not much we can do about that. We've just got to let it run through. You don't know how worried I was about that. I'm really worried.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, we've got one more region to get through and then we're done. Sorry if I'm getting into your shot, but I really want to watch this close. So. Come on. Last one.
There we go.
Speed up now to the end.
So there's some sellotape in the band.
Bang! Yeah. Cool. That, I was slightly concerned. Anyway, we've now fed the feed spool with tape, so we can take that back to the studio to transfer it.
But no sooner had Miles pressed play on side 2 that he noticed something concerning.
Sounds like it's been x-rayed. Let's run that again.
Really? What did you hear? I didn't hear anything.
Thumping on the left-hand side. Let's run that again. Let's leave it there. We'll leave the machine.
Unfortunately, it seemed that the tape had been stored at some point in its life next to a magnetic source and had suffered some partial demagnetization in one channel.
Just double check that it's not me going crazy, and that is. Yeah, listen.
Oh yeah.
And you can hear it and see it on the spectrograph in this gap between When I'm 64 and Lovely Rita. The tape ended with a 4-second 15 kHz tone and just under 3 seconds or 1 revolution of gobbledygook for the runout. Yes, the damage to side 2 was of course a disappointment, but how did the tape sound overall? For someone who's heard this album hundreds of times over the past 45 years, the sound quality of the tapes overall was a revelation. Side 1 sounded as fresh as it must have done back in 1967. The sound was so open and clean, and free from any high or low-end boosts. There was clarity and purity across every frequency. The vocals were bright and so natural sounding, and I heard details in them I'd never heard before. And I admit, She's Leaving Home left me with a tear in my eye. Overall, it was just more honest than any version I've ever heard. I asked Miles how he would approach cutting a lacquer from this tape. Being a generally hands-off kind of mastering guy, he said that he would prefer to leave it well alone, and all that would be required would be a little de-essing here and there to avoid sibilance. It's an approach I entirely agree with, and I hope that one day he'll get the chance to cut all of the Beatles albums directly from their original stereo masters for a pure analog stereo box set. So my time at Abbey Road was done. Thanks once again to Universal for allowing me in this incredible place, and to last week's star Matthew Cocker for sharing some of his knowledge and stories. But most of all, thank you to Miles, one of the kindest and most generous people I've met in the business for a long time. The tapes remain an artifact in my collection, but at least I can now listen to them from the files Miles kindly made. And of course, they gave me one of the most memorable days of my life. I'll be back next week, but in the meantime, why not take a look at some of the other 200 plus Beatles videos on the channel? There really is something there for everyone. But that's all for this time, so I'll say bye for now, and thanks for watching.
Never could be any other